Welcome everyone to the Multipeak Marketing Podcast. Today's guest is the owner of Skylands Orthodontics and is an award-winning orthodontist. Please welcome Dr. Krystian Jarosz.
Hello.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey on, owning your practices.
Well, it's an exciting journey for sure. I purchased the practice where I'm currently in January of this year, so not too far into it. But prior to that, I associated, and I worked as a general dentist actually a little bit, and I did a little bit of surgical training. So I've been around a little bit here and there. But I've been practicing dentistry for about 10 or 11 years. But I've been a business owner only for about half a year or so. But so far, so good.
That's awesome. So you're playing with many different hats, right? Got lots of skills under your tool belt and all that good stuff. So how long have you been practicing?
Well, for dentistry for about 10 or 11 years. Okay. Orthodontics since 2016, so about 5 years.
About 5 years in ortho. Sweet. So what are the specific reasons for picking your locations?
Well, if I was doing a de novo startup, from scratch, I would probably look for less competition, those kinds of things, but also where I want to live. I'm married, I have 2 children, so I also have to take considerations of the boss, my CEO, CFO, and life partner, my wife. So that's definitely a consideration. I think that's very, very important. I think the areas that I ended up purchasing the practice in were just a great fit for me, culturally, and all these different types of things. And I didn't really want to live. I know a lot of people want to live in the city or maybe in the suburbs and have a little busier, lifestyle and that sort of professional and personal life. But I wanted something a little bit slower, so something that's a little bit more rural-ish. And so I think the practice locations where I, was lucky to, purchase sort of reflect those aspirations.
Right. Yeah. One of my clients, they actually live outside of Austin, and they actually like kind of the rural country kind of side of things where it's a bit slower instead of in the super fast paced city kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So is that kind of what you're referring to, just slow going and nothing too crazy?
I wouldn't call it, I don't live in, the boondocks or anything, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit, less congested, I would say, and just a different type of lifestyle. There's definitely, more farmland areas around here and, those kinds of places, but, all in all, something that matches my personality and where I kind of want it to be.
Sweet. So, less competition, you mentioned, are you referring to the bigger cities?
In a way. The other way would be to refer to other professionals, orthodontists or general dentists, of course. But so competition is always healthy. Wherever you go, there's going to be, especially in the Northeast area, it's going to be a little busy. But yeah, I guess I was referring more towards professional, interprofessional level, colleague level.
Right. Sweet. So what's the story behind the name Skyline Orthodontics?
It was a derivative of the previous owner's name for the practice, which was Skyline Smiles. I just wanted something that reflects the specialty a little bit more. So I kind of replaced the smiles with orthodontics. And
right.
And we kind of live, the practice is situated in a rather sort of mountainous region of New Jersey. And so there's a lot of mountains and things like that. So that's
cool.
Where I derived from.
That's really cool. So going back to your practices and everything, what are the size of your teams? You have 2 locations, right? So correct. You got, how big are your teams? What's the culture like in the practice?
Well, the practice, so the practice is, there's 2 locations. I can only physically be in one location at one time. So what we do is, what I say is, the size of the practice is small, but the space is big. So right now we're open, about 3 days a week. We're sort of starting to expand that a little bit. I have 5 team members. I have 2 lovely ladies that work up front, and I have 3 assistants that, some are part-time and some are full-time. So it's not a huge team, and in a way that's nice.
Gotcha. So, like, what are your goals going forward? Are you looking to like expand into more locations? Kind of like, what's your vision on that?
Personally, I don't think so. I think two are plenty for me.
Yeah.
Also, since you know, I have a lot of potential to grow, into the practice, almost like buying a large home, with more bedrooms than you need. I have more chairs than I need, and so hopefully, as the practice grows, it can sustain the patient load, and I think it can. I do like to be busy. I don't like to be crazy, crazy busy. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a balance that.
Right. Because you got a family. You got a family to spend time with and all that.
Yeah, I have two little kids, a boy and girl. So every any time I have available to spend with them, and it's very important to me. So I
Right.
do want to
That's awesome.
make sure I keep that in view.
Right. Because that's really important. I know I hear a lot of doctors that get caught up in work, 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 and they don't ever have time to do the things that like are really important, like, spend time playing catch with the kids and different things like that.
Yeah, it's a different ball game when you go, because like I was mentioning it. I used to be an associate, and that was great. I learned a lot. It's nice you can focus on your craft and your science and things like that. But when you're a practice owner, there's much more than meets the eye, and I'm sure
Hmm.
all practice owners will agree to this. So yeah, it's definitely a balance. Got to balance the family and the
Right.
business. It's fun.
Sweet. So I had a question come in, and the question was, besides sending back happy, satisfied patients, what do you think is the most effective way of checking in or rewarding dentists for sending their referrals?
Um, well, in a way, for rewarding them, I mean, I at the end of the year, I think it's typical that most practices will send, little presents, perhaps, to top referring docs, things like that. I just think having great communication between your referring dentist is not a reward, but it's something that bond really helps to strengthen that and fortify that relationship. So, but in terms of saying thank yous to them, I would say just simple things, just sending a lunch over, or just sending a thank you card, a handwritten things. Those are things that they appreciate.
Right. And what kind of like budget do you think, do you want to spend like $5, $10? Like what's a good number that you would recommend for people to kind of pitch in to give those things as little gifts?
Okay. I think it really depends on that. Depends on everybody. Everyone's going to be different. It's going to depend on where you're located, and the budget of your business and what you're comfortable with. I prefer to, I don't want to go overboard, but I prefer to support local businesses. And so if there's a local, you know, pastry place that makes delicious stuff, I'd rather pay $5 or $10 extra and get something that's pretty local. And that actually, budget wise, I think it amounts to, it doesn't amount to, that much, but I think the patients, and not the patients, excuse me, I think the doctors will appreciate that you're supporting local businesses and trying to get
Right.
something that's a little bit different, a little special.
Because, they're the backbone of the community. And also, it's going to a really good, um, if it's a mom and pop shop, bakery or whatever, but, a little bit goes a long ways, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So switching gears, kind of like on the marketing topic thing, what has been your biggest marketing headache when trying to get new patients?
Headache. Oh, I don't know. I think marketing in general is a big challenge. Acquiring new patients, and that's the name of the game. I think it's multi-layered, multifaceted. I think um, a lot of marketing, successful marketing, has to do with thinking outside the box. And the marketing that I like to do, and I think that a lot of people are comfortable in doing, is things like Facebook and Google. And but what I think is really important to use is momentum to your side. So if a patient has an amazing experience, or if in the office, or even if they don't have a good experience, right? For example, sometimes we have a patient that has an emergency, or they need to, they call you, or they leave you a voicemail on a weekend, for example, and they need the mom, you could hear the angst in her voice, saying that Johnny has this poking him, or Sally has this, etc. And if you are available for them, I think that is if you make yourself available, if you can. Sometimes you can't, but if you can make yourself available and avail yourself to those opportunities, those parents, they kind of fall in love with you because you've gone that extra step. And so their word of mouth, that's what this all leads to, is really what propels you and what propels businesses, as far as I'm concerned. So it's just going that little extra mile, extra step, and that kind of marketing is what I prefer the best. It takes a lot of energy, but it's also a labor of love. So
right. So do you also send them home with like swag, like some merch stuff, or?
I do, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How does that work out? Because I know there's like a lot of kids going back to school like with your shirt's logo on it, and so like have you seen like any results on that specifically?
It's difficult to track, so my answer is going to be no for now. But I've only been doing this, the marketing, not the market, but like the swag or the merch. Some patients actually refer to it as that.
Yeah.
I think I do now also. But I've only been doing it for the last, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months, and I've only owned the business for a month or two longer than that. So I think it's something subtle that works over time, but I don't know. I still don't know the statistics of that. It's kind of difficult to track. I don't think it hurts though.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I know I like to, well, I have a consultant that I work with that does orthodontics, and she recommends all the time, send them home with like a swag pack or something that has like a shirt, like a cup or something that, makes them feel good. They're giving you free brand exposure. And yeah, so I think that's a really good idea on that, but I just wanted to get your feedback on that, on how that would be playing out.
No, I think it's important. So, for example, one of the things that I do is I have, hoodies for kids. Everybody loves hoodies. So I have different types of sizes. And before I ordered it for myself. I wore it. I wanted to see if it's comfortable, if it shrinks, if I like the color, etc.
Right.
So I think if you're going to be giving out these types of things, you want them to be functional and also comfortable. So if it's clothing, I want to make sure it's something that I would want to wear, so it doesn't look horrible. Not everybody wants to wear a t-shirt that screams "I love braces," and I get that. So you want something that's subtle, from the front. For example, on the hoodies that we give out, on the front just has a little logo on the top left chest area,
Right.
and the back has a little bit more information. So I think giving out something that is useful that people won't throw away is great. So I offer that to kids. So that's, for example, that's something like that. For adults, I actually ordered customized Yetis, and so that's a little bit more of an expense. It's a little bit more of an initial outlay, but who doesn't like Yetis? I mean, giving out something that's high quality, I think, just reflects your practice. So that's what I'm talking about.
Right. I know, kind of like judging a book by its cover. You want to give them something premium because that's how your brand reflects. You're a premium brand, because you don't want to be giving out like a cheapy, scratchy shirt, right?
Exactly right.
Right. So like, where do you get your marketing ideas from? Like, what's your resource that you get those from?
I think it's a combination of just, watching what other people are doing and, deriving ideas from that, but also just brainstorming. I mean, I don't read any specific books or, partake in any marketing programs as of now. Maybe I will, maybe I should, but but it's just, I think I just try to absorb as much as I can from CEs and just from online stuff, from, online groups, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. So, going back onto like the marketing resources stuff, so you basically do everything yourself? Like you just kind of go with the flow kind of thing?
Yeah, like you said, many hats. So the marketing hat is one which you must wear.
Yeah.
And wear it successfully. So I'm doing it all, baby.
Do you have a marketing coordinator, or is it just you?
It's me.
Gotcha. I kind of figured that.
Eventually, I have a small team as things grow. And I would say that, I do bounce ideas off of my team members. I value their input, because I realize that my ideas are not the best. Sometimes they're horrible. Many times they're bad, but sometimes they're good. And so I do that. Plus, I also ask my wife what she thinks. And, it's nice to get opinions sort of from around the table and see what people think before you actually spend money.
Right. So is it more time consuming for you? Because I hear a lot of doctors say like, I went to dental school, I didn't go to marketing school, etc. So is it kind of like time consuming for you on that stuff instead of focusing on the patients?
Well, the quick answer is yes. Of course, I don't do those things during patient hours, so that takes away from family time. So it is challenging to, put in that time, but marketing is something that's kind of like, it's something that you must continue to do to feed your audience in a way. So you kind of have to find the time for it. You don't have to devote, you know, superfluous amounts of time that, that are going to be damaging to your, schedule, business or personal, but it does take a lot of time. I would say per week, I devote, I don't know, 3 hours maybe or so, or
Okay.
3-4 hours, whether it's, the things we spoke about or, shooting a TikTok, which sometimes takes longer than I anticipate. But I actually do enjoy some of it. It's, some of it, most of it. And, it's kind of fun. You can be creative.
Right. So like what channels do you have for marketing besides, the dental referrals? Is it, Facebook, Google, TikTok, Instagram? Like what kind of stuff do you post on there?
Yeah. So Google, I think Google is super important to try to grab those positive reviews.
Mhm.
So I try for that as much as possible. I tried, you name it. I tried Google Ads. I think they work. I think it's good to alternate. I think it's good to diversify, to do a little bit of that. Plus do a little bit of Facebook ads, boosting posts, which I had no idea what the heck that was before I started to do it. But it's literally, so for those that don't, this is a super easy explanation. You post something on your practice, gets a lot of likes, and if you feel like that would be a good marketing photo, then you just boost the post, you set a budget, and it basically turns into an advertisement. Of course, you need the parents, permission to, use
Right.
the photo, etc. But
You're
it's
basically just paying to reach a lot more people with boosting
correct,
the post.
exactly. Yeah. So it's super easy. Anybody could do it.
Right. So do you basically post the same thing on Facebook as well, or on Facebook to Instagram to TikTok, or do you do things separately?
I think, my strategies, I want to be efficient with my time. So what I do many times, and maybe, I have to change it up because sometimes it gets repetitive, but I will either take the photo or video or whatever I'm trying to promote. I'll put it through TikTok, which, TikTok is good at, I think, creating, everybody has a different opinion about it. So is good at creating, slideshows with audio and effects and transitions. And so once you create one, you can download one onto your phone and of course send it to yourself. And then you can sort of recycle that marketing material through the social media platforms that you feel like your audience, uses. So in my case, I think it's Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
I
So
do post
those
those
are your
pictures
main
on Google
drivers.
as well. Correct. Yeah,
Gotcha.
for
Yeah.
now.
So, so you mainly focus on like diversifying thing digitally through Google and through Facebook, right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, that's where most people are. Newspapers and other hard copies of advertisements are kind of going or have gone away a long time ago. So you kind of
Gotcha.
have to be there.
Yeah, I know newspapers, billboards, huge things what they used to be back 20 years or more. And now everything's digital. You can specifically target who you want to target and spend less money doing that. So
Pretty
I think
impressive.
it's
Yeah.
very impressive, very crazy how things have come. Um, and like with the marketing budget side of things, like what do you think a good marketing budget would be given the size of your practice or each practice?
That's a super question, and I think it's again this is a very unique answer for every practice owner. I'm new to the area. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows how to say or pronounce my name. So, my marketing budget, as I think someone that purchased the practice is going to be, it kind of has to be bigger than most individuals. Whereas I think in a normal practice, depends who you talk to. Maybe it's 3%, 4 or 5%. You know, the percentage for me is honestly, I don't want to say it's not set, but I think it's going to be more than that. Because I need to expose myself to the community. So mine's significantly more than that.
Right. Because I know usually they'll sit back like 2 to 3%. Once things like, you're in the community, everyone knows you, that's when you kind of spend less percentage. But like when starting out, when no one knows you, what do you think the best budget to set aside would be? Like, would that be 10%?
Again, I don't really know. It depends on your personal situation going into the business. It's hard for me to put a number on it. I mean, if I did,
Yeah.
I'd be sort of guessing. So mine, you have to be comfortable with, your personal expenses and business expenses and all these types of things. So I don't know if I would put it over 10%, but as high as perhaps, I'm just not sure, but I just know that my opinion is that it probably should be higher than somebody that's already established in the area, because you can have to break through that barrier.
Right, because you're trying to beat that competition, you're trying to overtake them.
I mean, and the attitude is it's competition. The other attitude is that they're colleagues, and I think about it both ways. But at the end of the day, you are running a business, and you do have to sort of get your name out there. So one of the best ways to do that is through the things that we discussed, and unfortunately, you have to spend money to do that. So it's okay.
All right, sweet. So are there any like little nuggets before you wrap everything up? Are there any golden nuggets you want to share that has been working really well for your practice that you'd like to share with other doctors?
I would say, always, I just, as when you purchase a practice, I think, life is a little bit different, but just in terms of, lifestyle and what you can or cannot afford, I would just say, for individuals that are running businesses or thinking about buying a practice, which is kind of the mindset that I'm in right now, somebody that recently purchased a practice or is, looking to buy one, for example, a new business owner, is, just stay who you are and stay true to your roots, and just try to do good work. My philosophy is to be conservative and to treat the kids, sounds boring, but as if they were my kids, right? And I'm kind of like a combination between old school, stay conservative, but also new school technology. And so, that's me, and that's who I am, and that's, so far it's been working, and the parents have been responding very, very well. And I think that's what I'm going to continue to do is, infuse technology and infuse some exciting stuff into the practice, which is, I think, helping.
Perfect. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Krystian, for coming on and sharing some awesome value with all of our listeners. Please make sure to check them out, Skylands Orthodontics, to see what they're doing. You can check them out on social media, and even check their website out at www.skylandsmiles.com. And go ahead and message us on social media if you do have any questions you'd like answered on the podcast. Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a blessed day.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks so much.